Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of the Off Grid Traveler. Today we're going to be joined by Bryh and Cris, who are the owners and creators of Big Life Tiny Home. And not only have they elevated the tiny home experience, but we talk about the tiny home revolution and how more and more people are sick of their things owning them, and what you need to know if you're looking to get into this community. And as always, we'd like to thank the sponsor of today's podcast, Dry Flush Toilets. If you haven't seen these amazing off-grid toilets, you really need to check them out. They're the cleanest, easiest, smell-free toilet that you've ever seen, and they recently won the best new camping technology in Australia. No more dumping chemicals or maintaining a composting toilet. Go to www.dryflush.com.au to see how they work. Let's get traveling.
Welcome to the Off Grid Traveler podcast, where we meet the people who go off grid and into a life of adventure, challenge, and grand new horizons. Whether on land or on sea, you'll meet some fascinating characters who've chosen the road less traveled and discover their best tips, worst moments, favorite destinations, and a whole lot more.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Off Grid Traveler. Today I'm joined by Bryh and Cris, who are absolutely awesome people that are really, you've jumped into the tiny home area and made a really big impact within only just a year. Is that right?
Yeah. We started a year ago over drinks, which is ironic because we're not big drinkers, but we were
sharing a cocktail.
We're like sharing one cocktail. We're like, should we do it? Are we actually building a tiny home? And we've got a video and we clinked, and that was a year ago.
So we do have our little video that we decided, we shook on it over our shared cocktail.
And we executed.
And we executed it. And it was almost 12 months to the day that we launched our business.
Yeah.
What got to the point where when you were sitting there and just going, okay, we want to go for this type of business? Because I know, Cris, I know that you have done interior design beforehand, so it wasn't like you were coming completely off the rail. You had a set of skills that you could bring with you. But what was the thought of going like, tiny homes and we can make this work?
Well,
COVID.
Yeah, COVID. So Bryh was my assistant interior designer, and I've been designing for 25 years, and I love what I do, but you get tired of anything after 25 years. And because we always design for people, right? So it's always in the end their decision. And Bryh and I were just dying to do our own designs, our own vision. So we're like every single person on the planet who's like, we're gonna buy a fixer-upper and flip it. And then COVID hit, and prices doubled in our area.
We didn't have $1 million for a flip.
Yeah, $1 million for a rundown like crack house, pretty much.
That's a good crack house, though. People are still buying them, right?
So then we're like, oh, what else could we fix up? Like, let's fix up. Oh, I see all these cute caravans. Let's fix up a vintage caravan. Started looking and was like, everyone's doing it. And we couldn't find a good one to do. And then our friend was like, nah. He's like, no, that's not what you're doing. You need to build a tiny home. I'm like, a tiny home?
What's a tiny home?
A tiny home on wheels. So I went and watched all the shows, Tiny Home Nation, and started researching. I'm like, oh, we're onto something here. And I say to Bryh, I'm like, instead, do you want to design a tiny home? And she was like,
but we're moving into doll furniture.
Yeah. She literally thought we were talking about a scaled down
doll houses now.
Yeah. I'm like,
what do you think?
Yeah. It's all our design. Yeah. It's magnificent. So we took a deep dive into the tiny house community, which is full of beautiful people and frothers and
really supportive community.
Yeah. And they come to it from all different angles. And so we saw it was like the convergence of everything we love. We felt like we were a part of a lifestyle and a revolution that we felt good about. We knew that we could engineer philanthropy into this eventually. Plus just getting to design it exactly the way we wanted, knowing that
without having clients push back at us.
We would design it. And so do you know what our goal was?
Go.
It was super immodest. I'm like, we're going to build the most beautiful tiny home in Australia.
And it's on your website,
like,
and it's true.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And she's like, we are. And I've told people that, you know how they say when you set audacious goals, tell people. And I'm like, that's maybe the American coming out of me, not being like, I really believe we can do this. And when we went to the Tiny Home Expo, people were like, this is the most beautiful tiny home I've ever seen. And the lady who runs the expo, Faye, she said, I've been in every tiny home in Australia, and damn it, girls, you guys have seriously built the most beautiful tiny home in Australia.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So why do you think, because obviously I know, you pushed out that audacious goal as the initial step to say, no, we're going to make this incredible. And why do you think yours was better? Like, what was it that, and it's a difficult thing to be humble at the same time as being audacious and pushing the love that you have for it. But obviously yours is beautiful. So what do you think you did that made it shine?
We're women.
That's exactly, she knew what I was going to say. We're women.
And that was a big comment where people would walk past and everyone would be like, oh, this has been designed and built by women. Like, so people knew before they even knew who we were, that it was definitely done by women.
And there's no pink. Like, there's nothing like girly about it. It's that up until now, the tiny home world, and I would dare say like the caravan world, and a lot of like your listeners who are in that off-grid world, like it's all designed for functionality by men. Be like, look, you can pick up this dining table and there's a chainsaw inside, and it like turns into like, it transforms into like your work shed, and like, you know what I mean? It's like all this, and it's all black and timber and utilitarian, or it looks like a mining donger. It like solves problems, and they forgot about aesthetics along the way. And we did the reverse. We said, we design multi-million-dollar homes. Let's take everything that we know what people love, and engineer that down into a tiny home, and then also looked at practicality from how we would want to live. So do you know how many people walked in and was like, oh, you've got a dishwasher. Thank Christ. Who wants to live without a dishwasher? Yeah. I don't. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the women thing, is like, oh, it should be beautiful and feel like a real home.
Still have the functionality, but at the same time, start with the end in mind of how do you want it to actually look initially, and then you can slot in all the things that are actually going to make it a home, right?
Yeah, that's exactly like the bath out the back.
Yeah.
100% having a bath out the back.
Like everyone wants a bath, right?
I don't want to live in a house without a bath or a dishwasher, or a full-size shower. So like I literally kind of, can you imagine, Perye, like 20 to 25 years, like designing something literally for me, even though I don't live in it. And I think that the response was overwhelmingly, yes, that's what we want to.
That's so cool. Well, you went back and mentioned about how you two were the woman within the Big Life tiny home area. Like, is it specifically that it's just largely male dominated who are creating most of these houses? And when you went to that show, were you basically the only two that were like, hey, we're here to stay?
Yeah. So there is women, but they're generally like the head honcho is the husband or like the man. So there's like, I feel that majority of the companies are men led, and yes, they might have their wife or something, but there's no companies that are solely led by women.
And that's why you need a woman's touch, right? That's why you need a woman's touch.
We literally strapped on tools and learned trades and sweaty, dirty, and cut ourselves and burned ourselves and all that kind of stuff as well. I got banned from the nail gun.
Yeah. Get a bit rogue every now and again.
Just start firing into the air, or what was going on?
I don't know if you've seen the one where I blew Cris away with the blower.
She literally like knocked me flat on my back.
And on that note, everyone needs to check out their Instagram, because they have their own special Shazza and Shitlips presents the Shitty Shed show, which is phenomenal. Will make you laugh, and I hope that they do a season 2, season 3, and season 4, because they're hilarious.
Wanting to change our name, Big Life Tiny Home, to the Shitty Shed show.
Do you think it will get past approvals? That's the problem.
No. I'm like, maybe we should do like a Shitty Shed show series off Big Life Tiny Home.
Shitty Shed show series, right? It's got to have the series as well. I love that.
That could be the paid content one.
Yes, Patreon. Right, you're going that route now as well. Happy days. Oh, I love that.
But I want to, because it sounds like so far we started off bashing men and their tiny home design skills.
No, we're not.
No,
We
the men in
we
every
just can't find
dimension.
dates.
Yeah, we can't find any that want to date us, but we do love them. We really love you guys. If anybody's listening, we're both single. We don't sleep
We're not a
together.
couple.
We've already been asked for a threesome.
We have.
Wow. Oh, so to go back
What I was going to say is, though, the other builders and tiny home companies are like, we love you guys.
They're the best.
You breathe the breath of fresh air into this industry. Like,
you've lifted the what they say, that we've really lifted the standard.
Yeah. Everything from going into trade tools or like the guys down where we build, like people were excited. They did not feel that their toes were tread on. Instead, they were excited and felt that it was a bit of fun, like sort of a little bit kind of like, look at these two.
What you've done is you've just opened up the whole route, a whole different area for those who are like, oh, I'd love a tiny home, but I don't need 1,000 drawers for every single functionality. Not to say that you don't have that, but you're not stepping on anyone's toes, because the guys are going to go there and go, I want that completely black one with every single thing and my video games and whatever they think is that the necessity. Whereas you're going to get maybe a family or a unit that, like, you know what, I want something a little bit more livable, pretty, and again, livable. I'm using that word carefully, but it's because I don't want to say that the guys' ones aren't, because I would live in the guys' ones. I've traveled around in a backpack in a little hut, so we can live anywhere, but why not live in a beautiful place like that? And I just want to mention, like, the one that you made recently, which was the blue little home. Do you have a name for it, by the way?
No, we've got a name. We're going to. Sorry, we'll just call it the loft tiny home. I know it's very.
Well, that's what I love about it. It's the size of it, but you have 2 floors on it. Like, and this is the thing. Like, people sometimes worry that when you live in a tiny home that you don't have space. There is a lot of space in there, because you realize how much you actually don't need.
So when people walk in, the overwhelming thing is like so many people say, like they say, it's so light, bright, and airy. Oh my gosh, it feels bigger than I thought. And then after like about 10 minutes, they go, this is all you need, right?
Wow.
So we've engineered everything down. And I'm like, I would encourage people to think about that. Every single square meter, let's say every single square centimeter in your home should be justified. It should be there for a reason, because you know what? You paid for that square centimeter with whatever, blood, sweat, and tears, with your time. You traded a part of yourself, even if you love what you do, right? Even if you love your work, like you're trading that. And then that square centimeter has to be maintained and dusted and insured and refinished and whatever. So every single thing you own and every little bit of space you own, you have paid for and you are going to continue to pay for. So a tiny home says, everything from like, how much space do you need? How much hallway space do you need? Do you really need 1,200? It looks cool, right? Like, do you need an entry foyer? Probably not.
No.
So like every space is utilized and justified. So then you feel like nothing's been left out, but suddenly you're not looking after 1 million square meters and 1 million things that you don't love.
It's a really
quick and clean.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy. You just said that, like, the amount of hall space that you're using, and when do you use that space except for when you are traveling from one room to the other?
Yeah.
And you've just put everything into a nice place. And like, the fact is, the amount of windows that you have within your tiny home, you are literally inside, outside. If that makes sense. Like, let's say you put it on a green or whatever, how much room do you have? And you mentioned before, Cris, how, like, okay, yes, you've got your tiny home where you're living and sleeping, but what about all that space you can put other things outside, like the bathroom? And what was it you were mentioning about having, I saw in one of the videos, is having like a deck area where you can have table and stuff like that. That is...
Depending on what part of the world you live in. And if you live in a beautiful, like weather, like we do, where we love being outside. Like, so when I move into a tiny home, my outdoor room will be twice as big as the inside, because
Yes.
I want all the things. I want a big old farmhouse table that I can have 12 people over for dinner. Like my current house can't even fit that, right? I want a day bed. I want some Adirondack chairs for reading. I want some heat lamps for those cool nights. I want like cabana curtains and cover for when it's sprinkling. You know, I want like a big outdoor kitchen, like with a barbecue. Like all of that can go outside and is infinitely less expensive and infinitely more enjoyable outside. Like I want the fire pit, you know what I mean? We've got 3 new designs and 2 of them have double-sided fireplaces. So it's like fire outside, fire inside. Like why not? Well, what do we say? What's our saying? Only
the best for our tiny mansion.
Yeah, only
tiny
the
mansion.
Yeah.
Well, because that's why we have applied the same principles to the mansions that we do and just put it into a tiny home.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you go for designer tapware, right? Because you only really need 1, 2 tapwares, kitchen, bathroom. You don't need to fill 5 bathrooms, a powder room. Like, so you can kind of splurge.
Exactly.
Because it's tiny. So you're not filling a 5-bedroom house.
Yeah. So you've taken the luxury of the mansion, put it into a tiny home, and that comes with the other added benefit of the cost of it, right? Which is astronomically different from 7 to 8 figure houses. I'm guessing. Yeah.
So a lot of people equate tiny home, affordable housing. So we've just added that and said luxury affordable housing. So we are not at the low end of, we're not supplying to the government for flood ravaged, right? Like temporary housing and we think there's a place for that, but it's just not what we're doing. So for all those people that aren't desperate, right? But are just going, I actually want more financial freedom. I want more time. I want what I have to be absolutely freaking beautiful. And have luxuries that I couldn't afford if I had to spread them across a big house in some like soulless little box suburb, like 50 miles from the beach, right? Instead I can live somewhere beautiful in a space that's beautiful, and still we're talking like 150 to 200,000. Like, you know what I'm saying? And they're going, wait a minute, that stacks up. And it's not coming from a place of desperation, like that's all I can afford. It's coming from, that's an actual choice that enables me not only to have those first 2 things, financial freedom and more time, but to live where I want to live, whether that's communing with nature or like getting a few friends, like who also have tiny
home village.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Have you had a chance to go to any of those like tiny home villages and see people living in that kind of style?
We haven't met them.
I know there's one that they're currently doing down in Melbourne, it's a little tiny home village, but I don't know whether there's many around here.
To get their head around it and support it without it being what people don't want to happen is for it to become what do they call it? Trailer park.
Yeah,
sure. You just that very fine line, right? But people could see it as, whereas it's not the point of it. It's supposed to be people that, you know, come from all types of backgrounds, but then just minimizing their actual space and being in a community of people that feel the same way.
Yeah. Which could be like it could be like a yuppie commune, not a hippie commune. You know what I mean? Like where they share, this is my dream for retirement, where we share like a chef, a nurse, a masseuse, like a 4-wheel drive, a boat, an ATV, because it's like shared among like all of us like retirees. Like that's my idea.
We have big crazy mortgages because we have our tiny home, so we can afford that stuff.
And you heard it here first. That's what their goal is. Get in contact with them. They are ready to start taking people's names down who are going to be part of that commune. So that's really cool.
My goal, Chris's goal is to have the big deck. My goal is to have my tiny home and then a resort-sized pool that's like 5 times bigger than my tiny home.
Just a gigantic pool right next to it, right?
Pool. Yeah. And then get out the back for my walk-in wardrobe because I've got too many clothes to fit in a tiny home.
So, but that's fine though, because that's why you have an outside for it. Which the next question I have regarding that though is, and I did see it on your website, I'd love for you to elaborate, is regarding where you can put your tiny home. And because I'm sure a lot of people would have the question of, do I need to have a location for it? Don't I need some sort of permissions, or what's the kind of route with that?
Well, that is like that's Pandora's box, right? That's a rabbit hole. Okay, so I'm going to try to break it down simply. Yeah. First of all, every council has different rules around tiny homes. Now, they first came about because they basically exploited a little bit of a loophole. Because they're on wheels, they are technically a caravan, right? So you don't need building approval or development approval, right? Now, as some councils are fine with that, it's a caravan. So you could park your caravan at your house or on a property that you own and live in it, right? Other councils say you cannot live in your caravan for more than like 8 days a year, or something crazy. Like Gold Coast City Council is quite difficult with that. So it's really like council by council. So in some,
it's Brisbane, you can live in your caravan.
Yeah, you can live in
your Brisbane City Council. They have no issue with you living in a caravan.
Yeah, so we could go on an empty property, or it could go just in the backyard or side of an existing property. Yeah. So people are using them for Airbnbs, for grown-up kids, for elderly parents, like all kinds of things. Or they are buying a piece of land where it would be completely cost prohibitive to build out there, right? Like there's no services, there's no, like builders are like, I'm not, like they would charge them, it would cost them $500,000, right? Like they pull up their tiny home, park it, we provide an off-grid solution.
Wow.
And suddenly whether that's their weekend getaway or where they live full time, it's solving a totally different problem. And again, that depends on the council, whether they're happy for a caravan to be parked on a piece of land you own. Yeah. Now, here's the second part of that rabbit hole, which is then people go, okay, so I need to either own a property with a house or own a piece of land. More and more, there are websites. One of them is called Park My Tiny Home.
Park My Tiny Home, or like called Bryh.
It's like she's a matchmaker where there are people who have land, or like maybe with a property on it, maybe with a house on it, maybe not, who want to make some extra money, and they rent their land to tiny home owners, and she matches them. So if you're like, I want to live in a tiny home in the Byron Shire, she will find people who are willing to rent to you. Now, you could also do letter drops, like there are so many different paths to, in the same way that you would rent a house from somebody, you just rent
the land.
You just rent the right to put your tiny home on that land.
That's crazy, because it's kind of coexists with the sense of the people that go to the camping parks and then they rent out the space of the camping parks. But this is the whole different era. And to say elevated per se, in that they're living there. There's so many potential routes for people to take if they want to live off grid. And that then stems into another question. You mentioned about going off grid, which is the name of the show.
I thought I'd drop that in there for you, Perry.
I saw it on the website as well. I was like, nice. And I was just wondering, like, how, when it comes to off grid, a lot of people worry about plumbing and toileting. And look, it's not a luxury thing, but it's something you bloody need, or you're going to be with your cacks down, aren't you? So, it would be really cool to just get like an understanding of, you said you guys have a solution for that. Is that something that you've built in, or what's the kind of process for that?
Basically, no two solutions are the same, because you've got your three main things. You've got power, water, and waste, right? So some people will need all three. 2, 1, completely depends. So like a tiny home is equipped like a caravan. It has a hose inlet, but of course you need a hose. It has a 15 amp power supply, just like a caravan. So you would need like a mains box somewhere. And then of course you need to like deal with your gray water and your wastewater from a toilet. Okay. So let's just say somebody needs all three. Let's go with the worst one first, the toilet. So generally there's compost toilets.
Yep.
They range from sort of $2,000 to $4,000, and they aren't as horrible and smelly as people think. But they do require a little bit of maintenance. There's a new product called Dry Flush, and that's really amazing. And that's almost like that's almost like a diaper genie that wraps up all your waste, and then you just throw the whole thing out.
And you're not limited to, women can put their sanitary products and stuff in this particular toilet. So you're not limited to like, you don't have to go to the toilet, but then go somewhere else to do something else,
Yeah.
So that's probably like the easiest and the most efficient, but like some people don't want to deal with like throwing that in a landfill if they're full on eco warriors. Yeah.
This episode of Off Grid Traveller is proudly sponsored by Dry Flush Toilets Australia, home of the world-famous Lavio Dry Flush Toilet. This patented electric toilet has no chemicals, is not a composting system, and can be set up literally anywhere in under 60 seconds. It looks and feels like an at-home toilet to use, but it can be used anywhere with no external power or water, and it still flushes. There's also no cartridge to clean or empty, and it's perfect for camping, caravans, converted vans, boats, tiny homes, or anything off-grid. Go to www.dryflush.com.au and use coupon code OFFGRID to get a 10% discount on your toilet order today.
Then there's incinerator toilets, which are the most expensive and the most practical. They're sort of 7,000 to 9,000, and they literally burn all of your stuff into like a little coffee can of ash. So those are power intensive. They either use gas or electricity, but you've got no smell, nothing, easy peasy, just like an expensive but very, very practical solution. And then, of course, with power, we don't like on our website, and all the tiny home builders are the same. They won't be like, oh, a solar solution is this amount. It's kind of like, I'm going to just throw out there. It's kind of anywhere from sort of 8 to 20,000.
That's right.
So right now we're designing a solution for somebody in the Southern Highlands, right? It ranges from 0 degrees to 40 degrees. So that makes a difference as to like how much of a power draw you're going to have, what kind of battery storage you can have. Like, so other people will want to be semi off grid, like have solar panels, right? But they have like a mains option for like when the weather isn't good, so it all depends on if you're literally coming to your off grid from an eco warrior perspective, or you're literally like, no, I have no option. The place I want to put my tiny home has no services. That's you can see how customizable it is.
Well, and I love that you guys have done the research to find out all these different alternatives to build into these tiny homes for whatever people are looking for. And I'm guessing that most people would probably, depending on who they are, you've got the luxury, so there's presets, the luxury, let's go full on grid. We're still in the system, but we're living in a tiny home. You've got the half grid who want to travel and, they've got maybe a Lavio, or they've got the compost toilet because they want to have that comfort. Or you've got someone who's off in the middle of nowhere and maybe a bucket, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Whatever floats your boat.
I think that, like, I'm quite sure that there's like people listening to this, like everybody has a different level of rustic.
That's right.
I love like camping, but when I'm not camping, if I'm living, like, I don't want like a rustic cabin experience.
No.
Like, I don't want to rough it. So it's like a tiny home. Our tiny homes are for people who maybe want to like have this spectacular view and commune with nature and go hiking and sit around a campfire and then have total comfort and luxury once they close their front door.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm going to go and venture and say that's a lot of people. That would be like a lot of people that would fall into that who like I said, it's not about roughing it.
Well, the beautiful thing is a lot of people, especially since COVID as well, they've been stuck at home and wanting to travel, but not wanting to leave their comfort. And by giving them the opportunity to still live with everything that they need, but be a little bit off grid, it gives them that opportunity to experience a new life. And that then stems back to something that you said at the beginning, which really clicked in my head, which is we're currently in, I love dogs, love him. All good. Oh, so many of them. There's so many of them.
We'll edit that out, right?
No, it's all in. It's all in.
Like coffee daycare.
Cindy, no.
Come on.
Love it.
Come on, dog. Come on.
You said something that really, really stuck with me, and it's that we're currently in a revolution of tiny homes. It's happening right now. And what do you think is the emotional reason for this?
I think people are questioning the entire paradigm of basically materialistic West. I'm going real deep here. Just warning you. We're going.
Warning.
Question of it, like the Western materialistic consumerist lifestyle. I think people are really, I'm hearing this through friends, podcasts, TV, kind of like, is this it? Is this really like, because I don't feel that happy. You know what I mean? Like they're living to work rather than working to live. They like have all of this stuff and they're still feeling listless. They're feeling a malaise, and people are starting
feeling cluttered.
Yeah. And there's all of
their brains are cluttered because their houses are cluttered.
Yeah. And there's like a strong link between the more stuff you have are like unable to get rid of. It's directly correlated to depression.
Yes.
And I think so. I think there's a little bit of waking up and being like, hold on. And I don't think people are going all the way to monk/minimalism.
Yeah.
But to kind of like question everything. How much do I need? How many toys? How many cars? How many TVs? How many social media accounts? Like they're starting to think of their time as precious, as time is like money. Like how much am I willing to trade an hour, like 3 hours for a bread maker or a better Cuisinart? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, I don't know if that trade-off makes sense. That's 3 hours, not with my kids, not with my family, not running on the beach. Always at the beach for us. You know what I'm saying? So I think that I don't think people are going to go all the way down to this really, like I said, rustic, like, you know,
totally off grid,
lifestyle.
you know, no lights on, but like a candle.
Yeah,
Like, I don't think that's happening as well.
Make us so pretty too, you know, like you can still do that lifestyle, but be in something beautiful. Doesn't have to just be like a little cabin in the woods.
Yeah. So I think that when you start questioning every purchase, with a full realization of what it's cost you and what it will continue to cost you in perpetuity, because whatever it is, you know, like your phone, this cup has to be washed, stored, dusted. It lives in a cabinet that creates square footage that I pay for when I work, right? So it's like, it didn't just cost $5. It continues to cost me
space,
power, water, space, everything. The time that I spend to clean it, to put it away out of the dishwasher, right? So how many cups do I need? In this house, I need about 8 because otherwise they're all in the dishwasher and I can't drink. But do I need? This is like actually like this is it. Yeah. Do I need 4 more other cute styles? Like, oh, these are my like cabana looking cups with palm trees, and these are my fancy cups. Like, do I need like 4 other styles that just sit in a cupboard? And not, I would say lots of people
gather dust.
Yeah. Lots of people have those.
You know, your mum's China cupboard where it only came out on special occasions, and I don't think we ever ate off it.
Yeah. So
and if you touched it, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not about living without cups. It's about living without
minimal cups.
48 different cups. So,
or get those little cups that pop out and stuff, and that can go even deeper, to be honest.
So now apply that to a house. And like, so for some people, like a tiny home on wheels is really tiny. So maybe you're going to put 2 of those together, or we're branching into the modular. So this house that you see is about 100 square meters. I love it. Every single person that comes in, when we first moved here, my teen daughters were like, oh, everybody else has nicer house, private school girls, you know, everybody else has nicer big houses in suburbia. All their friends freaking love it. It's a walking distance to like Coolangatta, like a hip little town, and they could ride their bikes to the beach. And suddenly like, they're like, I'm so jealous. Your mom's house is so cute, whatever. So we're really interested in anything from tiny house on wheels, which might be like 19 square meters to 100 square meters, because we think there's a whole lot of good living in that space.
And that's right? What you literally, you said there as well, that you're going the modular route, is that you're going to be building these tiny homes to have the ability to go, you know what, we could do with an extra room on the side, and you can literally just add it on. And it's interesting.
And they're permanent. So they can be as big as you want, But imagine this, like, okay, now I'm going into full infomercial mode but I just think this is.
Don't worry, should be offering free steak knives.
Yeah, steak knives. So, right. So as interior designers, we deal with clients who have literally, I swear they need therapy or Prozac or both from dealing with renovations and builders, right? Like, so they want to build a house. Like it's 2 years out of their life that they're never going to get back. And stress and like plumber's crack and dust and all that kind of stuff, right? So
real disease.
So with modular, right? They're like, hey, Cris and Bryh, can you design a 48 square meter or a 70 square meter house? And be like, that's going to get totally built in a factory where you don't even need to worry about it. You can come visit us if you want and see how it's going. But you're not going to get anything but a weekly little video or pictures. Like, here's your house being built, right? It gets delivered, hooked up to plumbing and waste, and like a week later it's done. We just think, why this is how building should have always been done, right?
Yeah.
Like it makes so much sense that we just think we want to be a part of that as well. But we're not interested in the huge modular. We still want to be a part of that, like
the tiny.
You guys, less is more. Come on, trust us.
Yeah. And honestly, if anyone hasn't had an opportunity to check their Instagram or their social medias in general, because they're everywhere, they're hilarious. It's amazing, and how beautiful these places are. And what's the next, because obviously you've done the loft one. Do you have another one in mind? Is it already up and running? What's going on with that?
We've just done. We've just finished drawing.
Our favorite part, right? Yeah. The design phase.
We've designed 4 new designs, which are all being drafted, and then we'll do computer renderings, and then we're going to build a new prototype. So one will be the biggest request we got at both tiny home expos, hands down, was, can you do one a little bit bigger that's all on one levels with no stairs? Because people want to retire in them.
Yeah.
Lovely.
They're like, I'm going to be 80 in this thing.
Yeah.
I need to work. It needs to work for me being 80. So we've designed a new one that's a little bit bigger. It is all on one level.
Because a lot of our people that love our homes, there's a lot of middle-aged women that are looking like us, that are looking for a forever home that they can grow old in, and they're like, well, the stairs are okay now, but I may not be able to use them in 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's made us go single level.
So that's one. Our second biggest group of people are the Airbnb people. People
I love that. Yeah, of course.
As their escape place, right? Like on a beautiful piece of land that they're going to buy in the Southern Highlands or wherever else, or in their backyard or whatever. So we're doing one that's high on luxury, low on storage. So your robe is about that big, but it's big vaulted beams, a king bed. It's got kind of a Caribbean feel, so
huge pendant lights.
Yeah.
So that there's the two difference there. The ones that are going to have the full lifestyle, and you've got the ones who are coming for Airbnb, or they're renting it out potentially, and it's for someone to just go on the beachfront. They've got this tiny home which has this experience with you've got the, what are they called? Windows. Wow, that hurt.
Yeah.
You've got the window looking out.
Huge opening. It's all glass. You think this one has so much glass, our engineer is going to shit himself.
Yes, good.
He freaked out at the last one. There was a lot of, lucky she's been in the industry pushing back these men for years because she got our windows.
You just go be like, come on, you're talented.
You just go and be an engineer and you work it out.
Yeah. Then our third one is a little for all the whole work from home revolution, but maybe your kids are too distracting, or the fridge keeps calling to you like, Perye, you're hungry. So but high end, anybody can go get one of those, rent those shitty flat pack things, and but it's not very nice to have clients over or to be in the back of a podcast, right? So this is imagine a beautiful, just 6 meter by 2.5 meter office space. And then our last one is modular. So not on wheels. It's about 40 square meters. And again, it's just that step up, more space, more like a real home. And that one will need a building approval, but now we've got a private certifier on board, and we'll do that for people. We'll get it all certified. And again, still make it 1,000 times more easier than going it alone, hiring an architect, a builder, and a certifier will do it all. So
wow. And you said something as well there about like having the workspace that's kind of round the back or wherever it is. That means that you're able to actually, if someone wanted to make a music studio, for instance, you'd be able to get it insulated for them to be able to create their music. Or if someone wants to use it for podcasting, whatever their decisions are.
We have somebody who wants to do it for that, who said, can you soundproof it? Literally.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And they'll be able to take that anywhere they want because it's on wheels as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, guys.
I know, right?
Everyone should be doing this.
Idea. We just thought we'd be like, oh, these good ideas. No, they need our vision.
Well, kind of, because we work from home, from Chris's home.
Yeah.
And sometimes when all the kids are here, I have to go outside and sit outside in the sun and get suntanned. But I can't concentrate because there's so much happening. So it kind of was like, we were like, we need to make a little office for ourselves.
Yeah.
So, and then, suddenly we're like, we're not going to just sit in a little crappy shed. Let's make a kick-ass office space.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Have you created your space yet that you use outside yet? Or are you still figuring out exactly what you want to be the best one?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're still figuring
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's important, guys.
So that would be ours.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. Guys, do you have any other like last minute things or anything you'd want to recommend people that are on the fence about jumping into tiny homes or going off grid, or just any tips that you'd recommend for those that just feeling maybe this is the move they should make?
First thing, you have to go and be in a tiny home.
Yeah.
I don't think it's awesome to look at it like online and all that, but nothing compares to actually going into a tiny home and feeling it like that.
So there's probably 4 or 5 expos around Australia throughout the year. So look those up, and then also hop on either. So tiny homes are so popular. Airbnb has a section at the top that says tiny homes.
Tiny homes.
You know that?
Yeah.
There's also a website called Tiny Away. So go spend a weekend. Our new offer for the new year, this is like blatant self-promotion, is that anybody who like decides to buy a tiny home with us, like we will pay for a weekend through Tiny Away or Airbnb up to the value of like $1,000, because we want them to see what they like, what they don't like, what they were like. I hated the whatever tiny shower. Be like, no problem, done. We'll get you a big shower. So we design everything from scratch for people, which is a bit different from other tiny home companies. But the biggest thing that people are also just really confused about is council regulation.
Yeah.
So also start there. Just hop on your local council, look up tiny homes, see if there's anything on there, give them a call. Also just look up, can I live in my caravan in whatever area you are thinking of living in a tiny house, or call us. So also part of our service is we will do that research and advise you to the best of our ability of what we found and come up with a solution as to whether you can do it at all. You need to go down this route or the modular route, whatever's going to be best for your council area.
So on that is, do your research, guys. Anyone who's looking to do tiny homes, do your research, call your council, find out those things, because it will save you a lot of hassle. But at the same time, these wonderful ladies will help you with pretty much 80 to 90 to 100% of it. Oh, no, not at all. Sorry.
Nah, she does that. So I have to watch my P's and Q's when I get frustrated.
Yeah.
So that's what we say to people. If you're dealing with council and you get too overwhelmed and stressed, because council can be difficult to deal with.
That's right.
I'll do it. I will kill them with kindness. I just did this for somebody.
That's another thing I'm banned from, talking to council.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God, that is amazing. Could you put that in an email to me? And I like pretend that I'm living in that council, and then I send that to our client. So.
I'm like, what do you mean you can't live in your own caravan?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, and your guys' website, it's biglifetinyhomes.com.au, and
not
also
plural. So biglifetinyhome.com.au.
There you go. I said it wrong,
and we'll socials have a dot in between.
Yes.
So it's the biglife.tinyhome.
Yeah,
and
Big Life.
The socials.
biglife.tinyhome over all socials. And I noticed you guys got a YouTube channel that's not open at the moment, but I'm sure there'll be something coming soon, right?
Oh, so our YouTube channel is there. We just haven't posted for a while because we've been in the design phase.
Yeah, because we were like, we stopped building and then there was holidays. So it's just gone quiet. But we're starting to build the next one in like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
so we'll start.
Season 2 will be hitting the channel into
Shazza, Shitlip, and the Shitty Fat Show.
They're on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Check out their website. And they also have requests and plan specs if anyone is interested. These two amazing women who have completely changed the luxury tiny home mindset. And honestly, it's been really cool having you guys here. For anyone who's watching, thank you so much. This is the Off Grid Traveler, and keep on traveling. Cheers.
If you or someone you know would be an interesting guest on the show, we'd love to hear from you. We love speaking to everyday people who've taken to the open road or open seas for an extended period of time, or anyone that's set up their life in an off-grid location. Please email guest@offgridtraveller.com.au to get in touch. That's 2 L's in Traveller.
If you like that video, you'll probably like this one, and you'll really love this one. And as always, we want to thank you for joining us. And if you want to like and subscribe, it really helps the channel grow. And it means that we can talk about more travel, get more tips and everything off grid. Cheers.